Yeah, no, I've had, a lot of long-term clients or whatever. I mean, you know, not to be like cold or whatever, but to be realistic. I mean, I always try to keep my relationship with my clients as arm length and professional as possible. Okay. I am your attorney first and foremost. Okay. I'm here to, counsel you on legal matters, on business matters. I'm here to answer your questions.
Welcome to Sharpen the Spear podcast, where we help manufacturing executives command the front and win the floor. I'm Richard Walsh, creator of the Sharpened Impact methodology, and I spent decades helping leaders transform frontline teams, unlock hidden profit, and capture capacity they didn't even know they had. If you want to see where your leadership gaps are costing you and how to fix them, head over to grittolead.com and run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator today. Let's sharpen your edge and get started. And we are back on STS Sharpen the Spear podcast with another incredible guest. Matthew Fornaro is with us today. And Matthew, no one knows Matthew as well as Matthew. So, Matthew, give us the backstory, bring us up to speed, and we'll get into the conversation.
Sure, Richard. Thanks for having me. So I'm Matthew Fornaro. I'm a business law attorney located here in South Florida. I've been an attorney for 23 years. I've lived in South Florida since I was 6 years old, grew up here. I'm literally in the same town I grew up in. I've come far in life. So I went to college in nearby Florida Atlantic University. I went to law school at the University of Florida in Gainesville, the only time I left South Florida, and came back, started practicing law, worked for a boutique firm doing commercial litigation. I worked for two Am Law 200 law firms doing more commercial litigation or more business litigation. And then 11 years ago, I decided, or almost 11 years ago now, I decided to go out on my own and start my own law firm and focus on helping small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups with their legal needs on the personal front. I've been married for 20 years. I have two kids, a 14-year-old girl and a 17-year-old boy who's about to go to college. And, I'm a homebody. I like hanging around my house. We go on trips. I like watching stuff on Netflix and, watching sports. I watched my son play lacrosse. We've been into it for 10 years. Luckily, he drives himself around now. I don't have to drive him anymore, so that's cool. And, my daughter is into music. She's in multiple bands. She plays drums and she's into Girl Scouts. And that's it. That's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Yeah, that's it's pretty interesting. So when let's talk about you're working with small, mid-sized businesses, right? From the
Yes.
legal aspect. So what made you like specifically want to go to that niche?
Sure. So, I worked at, through my career, the last two stops of my career before I started my own law firm, where I worked at two large law firms working on like commercial litigation, representing like big businesses, banks, insurance companies, things like that. When I decided to go out on my own, I had the opportunity to go to an even bigger law firm and do kind of what I was doing. But then I had like a metaphysical kind of like, what am I doing with my life thing? Am I going to be like a journeyman attorney moving from big firm to big firm? Or, do I want to try to start and do my own thing and see how, it goes? And it's probably my last opportunity, at least at any time soon in my life, because my kids were young and my wife works, so she was able to help out. And so I decided I wanted to focus on, moving from, like a major metropolitan area like Miami, Fort Lauderdale to like out in the suburbs where I live. And I wanted to focus on helping small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups because I thought that they were underserved by big law firms and by like local law firms because big firms, they're not big enough for them, even though they're like five-figure, clients who, are willing and ready to pay you, but it's not in their wheelhouse. And then like local attorneys aren't really attuned or focused on helping businesses do like business stuff. So I thought that was a pretty good niche. And then also growing up, my dad had a small business. So I saw like issues that he had to deal with regarding like, being underserved by like professionals like attorneys and accountants because they weren't really focused on small business type stuff if you weren't at a certain level. So that's kind of how it all came together. And then that's how I got started 11 years ago doing it.
Yeah, that's really, I've been in business for myself for 35 years, multiple businesses, and it was an accessibility aspect. There really wasn't. You have small things that grow into bigger things because you
Mhm.
can't get the small things taken care of, and they tend to compound. Then you got another issue on that, or something big comes down, whether it's a lawsuit or whatever it might be. It definitely was difficult to find someone who, even if some of the bigger firms would give you a little help, you always felt kind of, you're that rabble
Yeah.
that's on on the side. You know what I mean? Like you're getting the scraps from their table.
Yeah.
Getting the new guy.
Yeah.
Getting the first year. And so
Yeah,
it's like a
exactly.
defense attorney. You know what I mean? Like you're going to get
Yeah.
all these dregs and you can go help these guys, but you're not getting this, the bigger stuff. So I really appreciate someone seeing that niche. Here's the thing, when I think, and I get everyone wants to be big and everyone wants to, make a ton of money, but you've been in this 11 years or so, like you start looking at it and said, well, if I could own that niche, you can probably do quite well. The problem is no one wants to do one, let alone, they're not thinking about doing 30,
Yeah.
or 50 and bringing that together. And I think there's a lot of upside to creating that reputation that
Mhm.
you have, right?
Mhm.
Who you're serving. Did you find that's kind of how it grew into?
Yeah, the starting out trying to like establish like it's not even like a niche. I mean, it's like bigger than a niche. It's helping small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups, particularly like outside of like the big city where most people live. And, just establishing yourself and getting out there, well, it's not an issue. It's just a building process to build up to where I am now, where, the most important thing in the world for a business online is being in the Google three pack, which is the three geographic slots that, for whatever market you're in, whatever business you're in, you want to appear in those big three. So I appear in those big three. It took a long time to do it. And, now when you look up like business law attorney, like Coral Springs business law attorney, South Florida, whatever, like I'm there. So to get to there, online was one thing. There was a whole process to do that in real life to, have a referral network of people who, know and trust you and are able to refer to you and stuff. Another building process. And just in the legal community to, switch from like, okay, he's pretty good at commercial litigation, doing things for big things, switching into like, representing small businesses and related things from a attorney standpoint, from like, the legal community standpoint is another building process. So there's all multiple fronts building up at the same time to get to the point where, now luckily I'm pretty, accepted in, whatever in the community. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway on that is, you're a business. Yes, you're an
Yeah.
attorney, but you're a business, and every other business you're probably serving is going through the same journey. It's not like you're unique because you decided to do a niche, a small business niche, but you're an attorney. All business has to build that way. We're all
Yeah.
trying to get in the top three. We're all trying to get on the first page of Google. We're all trying to get a reputation. We're all trying to gain more client, right? Take more market share. It's the same thing. That's what I love about business.
Hmm.
So because it's not, I don't have to know your specific business to help someone with business,
Hmm.
right? It's kind of it's a great thing because there's operating principles and there's generalities in a business that people know or don't know. If we can
Hmm.
bring it to the forefront and we can help them with that, that's what it's all about. But I really like what you've done because you're serving a niche that is difficult. It takes a level of expertise. I
Yeah.
guess what I'm saying that, right? Like I'm not going to go do what you do for a business. I'll coach a
Yeah.
business, I'll help them, and I'll go, again, this is where you get an attorney. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. Like, I can't help you with this, but I know a guy,
No.
that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and it's just to be able to like, be in front of people like you where you're able to refer or recommend, someone like me to a business or whatever. That's, half the battle in building that reputation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and then again, it's back to business.
Yeah.
We all want referrals. We're all building that. We're building that trust factor and everything else, so people actually want to refer us,
Yeah.
right? Because the thing I always tell people, I go, the person at the greatest risk of a referral is the person referring me, okay, to their friend. Their
Yeah.
name's at risk. If I if
Yeah,
I
exactly.
if I'm terrible with their friend, well, yeah, they might not like me, but they got to have dinner with these people.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so
It reflects
it's
poorly
going to
on
matter.
you.
It's going to be a sore
Yeah.
point, So it's that's a challenge we all face in business,
Yeah.
right? Is maintaining a reputation. It's important, and I'm sure in the legal circles, in your arena, there's is probably a little higher expectation in that as well, right?
Yeah, there's a higher expectation when an attorney makes a referral to another attorney for someone who, focuses or specializes in a different area,
Right.
Um, and obviously, like you said, if you're the referral source, it reflects poorly on you if the person you refer isn't great or, doesn't fit or whatever. But sometimes, at the same time too, sometimes things don't mesh. Maybe the person you referred isn't so great themselves to,
Oh yeah.
the referral source. So it kind of goes both ways. But yeah, you're definitely putting yourself out there when you recommend someone. So you want to make sure you recommend someone who, is proficient and knowledgeable and, amiable in what it is they're doing.
Right. Yeah. I tell people, it does go all ways, right? Like
Yeah.
we've all had the clients who we want to fire or do fire. I've
Yeah.
fired my share, right? Who are unsatisfiable. You
Correct.
can't work with them, whatever. They got all their issues. Who cares, right? But
Yeah.
everyone's got their issues,
Yeah.
And so even again, back to the referral point, your client who's referring you to so and so, like they might be the actual problem. I mean, there's
Correct.
people I won't refer to other business owners I know.
Yeah.
Hey, I was talking to your buddy. He said he knows you. And this guy, I go, do not work for him.
Yeah.
It'll,
No,
I don't,
it's
unless you can't eat today. Okay.
yeah.
Do not work for that guy.
Yeah, no, it's the same way. Sometimes you have clients where, you just can't refer them to, they need something specialized, like they need estates and trusts or they need
Yeah.
like, whatever. And I'm just like, why don't you bring me names and I can tell you who to go to? I'm not going to give you names, like that kind of thing. So,
Right. Yeah. It's interesting out there. I mean, and a lot of people who don't have a business, and look at your success or whatever that might look like, it's interesting the feedback you get from them or what they think goes on in a business, and my brother's like that, right? So he's never run a business, everything else, but then, to him, he's never going to hear this, so it's okay. It's like to him, every business owner is a criminal,
yeah,
and I'm like, I just look like where does that come from?
yeah,
Like, where does that come from?
yeah,
Like,
no, I
you
mean,
just
like,
called me a criminal,
yeah.
you know? I
Some
think I'll
business
snap your
owners
head
are
off.
criminals, but most are legit people just trying to, make it. Well, but
Right. It's
yeah,
it's
it's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely
but
interesting.
it's
Unless,
and you know what, yeah, we have to brush that stuff. I don't care. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Everyone's got their perceptions. It doesn't matter. What I focus on, you probably do the same thing. It's just we want to deliver excellence.
yeah,
That's what we want to do. We want to my big philosophy, uh Matthew, is really deliver more value than they're paying for all the time.
mhm,
It's my own little scorecard. Okay, I'm the last one to give,
yeah,
meaning that I did the work, they paid me, I gave them a thank you gift.
yeah,
Okay, I'm the last one to give. Okay, as
yeah,
they send them back to me, I'm gonna go do something else, right?
yeah,
So it's not super conscious, but I love that aspect. That we can have that exchange at the end. I had a client, he had a really great saying. He just kind of threw off the cuff. He's down in South Carolina, a little bit of the accent and everything else, and he's like, he tells people, well, they're asking like what the difference. He goes, well, the difference between me and other contractors is when we get done, we'll still like each other.
yeah,
So I'm like, dude, and the way he says, I go, that's gold. Okay,
yeah.
well, what a
Oh, that's
great way to
pretty
say
good.
something, because he's really that says a lot in that simple little sentence.
Yeah,
About who you're dealing with.
yeah, no, it does.
Yeah, is let me ask you, so we're kind of on that personal line there. What is it like you're the attorney, you're working. What do relationships? I'm a big relationship guy. I think it's really important in business and stuff too. But what does that look like from when you're serving them at a legal level? And pardon the, I don't have the vernacular. Okay, but like because there's all different levels of relationships, from business to coach to legal advisor to whatever that might be, right? Marketing, all that kind of stuff. What does that kind of look like, high view, for you in the engagement with a client, the long term with that? Is that something you have? We call it lifetime profitable value, right?
Yeah.
How can you serve these people ongoing, which has got to be a basis of your business, right?
Yeah, no, I've had, a lot of long-term clients or whatever. I mean, you know, not to be like cold or whatever, but to be realistic. I mean, I always try to keep my relationship with my clients as arm length and professional as possible. Okay. I am your attorney first and foremost. Okay. I'm here to counsel you on legal matters, on business matters. I'm here to answer your questions. And, you can contact me, call me, email me, whatever. I'll respond to you, whatever. And, keep it professional. Sometimes I'm friends with my clients or whatever, but I always maintain when it's attorney time, it's a arm's length transaction, professional relationship where I'm the attorney, you're the client. And, that may seem, I don't know, harsh or whatever, but it's for your protection and it's for my protection because when you blur those lines is when you have issues that happen or problems that happen because you know, the foundation for us is a business relationship. Okay. We didn't meet in high school. We didn't meet, on the
Right.
soccer team. We didn't meet, so we're in a business relationship. Okay. It may become a social relationship or whatever, but it's always first and foremost a business relationship. So when you get away from that and when you start blurring lines or whatever, it doesn't mean you can't be friendly or nice to your clients or whatever, but it's always, you have to remember it is a business relationship because when something bad happens through no fault of your own, through no fault of your clients or own or whatever, then all of a sudden when there's stressors put on, then it gets really weird because now, my friend doesn't talk to me or, my friend's mad at me for whatever, or like, we're supposed to go on a dual family vacation now, whatever. So I always try to keep it professional and cordial and whatever. I'm like, yeah, you want to invite me to a game? Great, I'll go to a game with you. Or you want to, have me over for like, a holiday party or whatever, that's great. But like, unless we're legitimately friends that will extend beyond our business relationship or whatever, that's the extent of our relationship. And it's for your protection and my protection. Because once that gets obscured or once that gets blurred, that's when you have real issues because it's like, oh, why'd you bill me for this? Or, I thought we were friends. Why didn't you tell me that this was going to happen?
Right.
Or, I don't really like the result. And, I texted your wife about it. Like, just crazy stuff like that that happens where, the breakdown of the professional relationship, you never want that to happen. And by, keeping everyone as a legitimate business relationship or whatever, you always, maintain formalities and you're not going to have those kind of issues.
Yeah, that's great. I'm happy to hear that. It is a challenge, I think, with a lot of business owners, even whether it's your level or I'm a contractor. It's just you have to. It's something you learn. You kind of don't get it when you first start. Depending on your age, if you've been around or you're starting this thing, but there is this veil you have to maintain, this
Yeah.
kind of arm's length thing. And for a lot of different reasons, we can spend a whole show talking on all the different reasons,
Mhm.
relationship stuff, husband, wife stuff, when you're talking, who you're talking to them, where you're
Mhm.
talking to them at. There's all these different things. But again, where are these lines that I feel what I do is as a business owner, how I coach guys is this is up to you. This
Yeah.
is your line. You can't control what they're going to do, but you can
Yeah.
control what you do. And you can have these policies in place. You can have these lines kind of drawn. You train your people. If you have teams, same principle. That becomes a policy, an
Mhm.
operational policy that we work under and starts at the top.
Yeah.
Because if you're out violating that, then no one else is going to honor
Yeah.
it either. So, but I think it's really good. And And I know it's not official legal advice, but I think it's good advice all over. Like
No,
you
it
should
is
you should
because,
learn how to operate that way because you'll
yeah,
lower your misery
yeah,
level.
and no, it should be in all business relationships. I mean, it's a business relationship. It's not a personal relationship. You can, have a personal relationship, but you have to realize that that could jeopardize your business relationship. And if you're willing to do that, then make sure, you put guardrails around it. And if you're going
Yeah.
to do that, do that. But at the same time, you know, the business relationship, like anything can happen. So you don't want to mix that into your personal life or whatever. And then, you get people texting you on Sunday at 11 p.m. like, oh, can you, hey friend, can you look at this for me? Like, no, man, it's Sunday at 11.
Yeah.
I'll look at it tomorrow. And, you just avoid stuff by that by, keeping it professional, keeping it above board and keeping it at arm's length.
Yeah. Kind of what I says, go find other friends.
Yeah.
go find go find friends that aren't clients and are never going to
Yeah.
be clients, you know.
Yeah.
Make sure they don't my friends don't own businesses, okay,
Yeah.
because otherwise they couldn't be my friends.
Yeah.
Okay, but whatever, you know what I mean. But like, yeah, we have to put up our own, like you said, the guardrails and stuff. We really got to understand how to operate within our own professional atmosphere and keep it that way. And
Yeah.
it can get dicey the longer you're in business
Yeah.
and you're local. Okay,
Yeah.
you're going to start to know a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, and this stuff is those lines are going to get blurred across or whatever. Or hey, you see them publicly, that's great. You know, you're
Yeah.
cordial, you do all that stuff, is all that stuff. But again, like you said, we're not coming over for the barbecue,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And
No.
it's just one of those things. A lot of people, Matthew, don't have the discipline to instill that. They
Yeah.
feel like they're being, oh, I'm being snobbish or I'm being this. I go, no, you're being professional, man. If you
Yeah.
want to stay in business, you got to understand these aspects of owning a business.
Yeah.
They don't teach this in college, okay, but you're going to learn really fast if you don't honor those, those attributes, man. You're gonna run into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And 35 years and I've had mine. You know what I mean? Where you can kind of
Yeah.
let it go to those places, and it always bites you
Yeah.
in one way. Like you said, they're going to give you that call, or they're going to want that discount, or the ridiculous request, to do things. You're like, no, I don't do that for anybody, and
Yeah.
not because and or my friends. It's the same thing. So yeah, I totally get it. Really, it's a good. I wanted to hit that because I think from the business standpoint, people have to, as we start to elevate our ability to do business, we have to look at a lot of different things. It's a very intricate and complicated process to be a business owner. And this is why most businesses fail in
Hmm.
the first 3 to 5 years, right? Because these are all factors. There's a lot more to it than people think. I always used to tell people, I go, I thought it was about making money.
Yeah.
So I just went and made a lot of money.
No.
I didn't do all the other stuff.
No.
The stuff you don't want to do, the stuff
No.
you need,
That's
legal
yeah.
stuff and tax and this kind of stuff. And guess what? Eventually, it will get you.
No.
So
That's
it's and all
a
that money
lot
you
of what
made will
I
be gone fixing
yeah.
all the stuff you ignored.
It's a lot of what I deal with. But yeah, I mean now, they coined the term like soft skills. It's all the soft skills you don't know that you can't learn that you got to figure out along the way that, make a lot of difference in success and failure in business.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's really important, really, really important. So when you engage, so I, again, I'm thinking about this, again, the legal aspect inside the small and medium-sized business. Um, do you find primarily that you've got kind of one and done stuff, or is there really kind of a long-term relationship? Are you laying out plans like, hey, we're in business, I'm the small mid-sized business legal arm, if you will, right? Like, here's what you're going to come across over the next 3 to 5 years. Here's the things you like, lay out a plan for people. Like, you don't have to address this now, but you're going to want to, right? You're going to reach this point. You're going to have to do this and this. Is that something you do for clients?
Yes. The goal would be, or the idealistic goal, I should say, would be, I'd love to be your attorney forever. And that's at the inception of any business or business relationship. Like that's my goal. Do people follow up on it or do people do that? Sometimes not, sometimes they do. So my goal is, if you're starting up, like right at the beginning, you're not even in business yet. I'll help you work on the most important thing, which is your written business plan that talks all about, what your business is going to be about, the who, what, when, where, why, and how about your business. It's going to tell you, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, what you're not going to do, how you're going to add people, subtract people, get money, sign contracts, do things or whatever. And then going forward, we're going to work on your governing documents for whatever entity we pick out, working with like your accountant and stuff to figure out if you're going to be a corporation or an LLC or whatever. And then once we go there, then we're going to be like, okay, well, you have a team of professionals that help you. You have your business law attorney, you have your accountant, hopefully you have your commercial banker, and make sure that they're all in touch with each other so they know who each other is, so they're not surprised by what's going on or whatever, and they kind of have a holistic feel for your business. And then going forward, just, obviously you're going to have yearly filing requirements and other things like that you're going to deal with. And then obviously anytime you have a change in business, you add people, you subtract people, you rent a commercial space, you hire people, you fire people, whatever. Those are all events that you want to consult with your attorney before you do them. And that's kind of my mantra of how I approach representing clients is, yeah, I'd love to do all that stuff for you and not just, review one contract and be done or take care of your one lawsuit and be done. I'd, love to help you on a holistic, ongoing basis. And that's kind of my philosophy. Does it always work out sometimes? No, because people just want like, well, I'm not interested in that. I just want you to settle this lawsuit.
Right.
Or I just want you to review this contract. Okay, fine. I'm here when you need me or if you need me. And, I'm glad to do whatever one-off thing you want to do and we'll do it.
Yeah, I think with that, you're always going to get that, right? There's people who value do this. I want to be done. I don't want a subscription service. You know what I mean? But then there's those who really, and this is what I found working with, countless businesses. There's people who come in, they're doing their thing, right? They have a craft, they got a skill, they got something, they're doing that. And that's their primary focus in the beginning, especially first 2 years, right? Working on
Mhm.
doing this. Legal's not in their thing.
Mhm.
Maybe they set up an LLC. Maybe they're an S corp, right? Maybe they've
Yeah.
done some deep thinking and got
Yeah.
that, and they just filed online and got it, right? They don't even know if it's the correct LLC. We
Correct.
get all that, but most of them, the first couple of years is really difficult for them to start thinking in these terms.
Hmm.
Okay, they're trying to make money, make payroll, do this thing, grow a business. But as I always tell people, I go, the problem is, next thing you know, it's 10 years, and you've repeated the two 5 times, the
Yeah.
first two, right? And
Yeah.
you're still not doing anything from a legal standpoint. You
Mhm.
still got the same LLC you started that doesn't cover jack.
Yeah.
Okay, like you're actually going to be in trouble. You've ridden the wave and you haven't had an issue, but the first big issue you have, that LLC is going to crumble.
Correct.
Okay, and you're going to be really sad.
Yeah.
Okay, and all the time you just spent making that money, you're going to pay somebody to get you out of that, right? So we kind of
Yeah.
seen that whole circle, but then there's others, whether it's their first business or second or third, like me, like I had enough failures where I could write a couple books on it, and I did.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now I can bring that wisdom, and a legal counsel to me is part of the multitude of counselors, right?
Hmm.
You need someone when you're going to make, there's certain decisions that it only takes a phone call, right? Even if you're
Hmm.
billing me, right? I call you, we spend 3 to 5 minutes. I ask you this because I don't know, and you set me straight. I'm back at business. You go back to work, right? We're good.
Hmm.
And that's the whole idea that I try to emphasize with people when you're dealing with guys like you, other experts who are bringing advice to the table, or their suppliers, vendors, legal counsel, things like that. You have to understand, like, if you can get them, and I'm going to air quote on retainer, but that's not actually the case all the time, right? But in certain situations like you, it could be.
Yeah.
But really having the accessibility that you don't abuse. Okay. Like
Correct.
11 o'clock on Sunday night. Okay. You
No.
don't do that. But if you have that, you will find, if you will take advantage of it, your business is going to be run incredibly smoother. You're going to save a lot of costly mistakes because you just jump to it and you got it done. I get being a doer. I'm a doer. Want to get it
Yeah.
done. But there's times when there's things like, yeah, you're going to want to talk to somebody
Hmm.
about this, because this
Yeah.
could go a lot of different ways. And when I coach business owners with that, it's kind of a revelation to them. They haven't thought about like that. They think that's only when you're like a gazillionaire you
Yeah.
have that. It's like it's not that's not the case. Okay, whether it's someone in a mentor position or a legal position who has a business who can help you, you want to recruit these people. You want to engage with them and let them help you with your business, right?
Yeah.
So again, when people pay for coaching, just like they pay for legal services, okay, there's an ROI. Okay, they
Mhm.
get a lot. We compress 10 years into one. Okay, that's worth something. You know, you keeping them out of court, you keeping, frivolous lawsuits from happening, whatever that is. And when I was young in business, first starting my business, Matthew, I had built this huge project for this guy. So I'm still kind of half in, half out of my work. I'm at this big business club downtown Chicago, and this guy wanted to shaft me out of $25,000. Okay,
Mhm.
that was a lot. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm like, you kidding me? Like he doesn't want to pay me. So I had another client, big hitter attorney. Okay, didn't know how big he was, but he's big, retired.
Yeah.
He goes, well, let me make a phone call. Okay, go down and talk to so and so at the office, and we're down the loop in Chicago. I'm like, okay. So I go in and we have a conversation. What happened? And he goes, all right. He goes, I'll send him a letter. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks, man. I'm like, a letter. So he does, like, I think it was 3 days later. My client who owed me a 25,000. This was the phone call, Matthew. Yeah, okay. You and your high priced lawyers and everything. Yeah, fine, I'll pay you. Okay, and all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. I get my money. I'm like, okay. And then he sent me
All right.
$25,000. I hung up. I go, and then I kind of looked up who my client was.
Yeah.
These guys collected for the biggest banks in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, like it's letterhead, the letterhead,
Mhm.
and I'm like, okay, that was powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, that was pretty cool. And he just did
Yeah.
it because he liked me. But I mean, just you learn. This is why you create the network, right? This is why you have people, you go to the right people who can help you with these situations. Yeah, I'll never forget that. That made my year. It
Yeah.
was it was a good thing. So yeah, if I ever need them again, yes, I would go to them, but they ain't cheap. But it's
Yeah.
important that we build these kind of connections in business, because and referrals go both ways. I'm sure you have great clients and stuff, and you know someone else who needs maybe
Mhm.
what they do, and you're able to do the same thing. So it's
Yeah.
all part of the network. When
Yeah.
it comes down to paid or unpaid, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's good stuff. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah. No,
Where do
it's
you see
true.
yourself going? And you've been doing this 11 years now. Kind of what's on the forefront for you? Like what are you looking at? What are you seeing that's different in from an economy standpoint, in the service standpoint? Do you like track this stuff? Are you really kind of looking forward, or I'm not saying you're coasting, but like what are you looking at that's coming down? A lot of things changing, right, in
Yeah.
business, whether it's everything from tariffs to illegal immigration to people working from all this stuff. There's a lot going on that can really hurt small businesses, from a trickle down thing. Are you looking
Yeah.
at things like that you can re-engage or you can bring some value to the market?
Yeah, I always keep my eye on, business trends, particularly legal aspects of business trends, and always try to anticipate stuff that's going to happen, which, sometimes you can do, sometimes you can't because it just kind of happens. Like, for instance, COVID, who saw that? But things from COVID, predictable stuff that you can, capitalize on to this day. So, yes, I keep an eye out for that stuff and I try to adjust accordingly and get ready to try to help my clients by keeping, my ear to the ground as far as business stuff. And then obviously the biggest innovator or biggest change for business is technology and accessibility to technology, which is exponentially higher now than it was even when I started my business 10 years ago. And not just AI, but just anything like app-based things or fractional-based people or whatever. And it's made business, I don't want to say easier, but it's facilitated people being able to start businesses now who weren't able to do it previously because there's so many more resources available to you and so much more information available to you. And it's so easy now to do things where previously it was harder. And there's more access to professionals than there used to be because, online platforms and, things like that, where, you used to have to go downtown to meet your accountant or, meet your attorney. Now, look, we're on different sides of the country. We're talking on Zoom, and like that kind of thing has opened up a lot of business and made things, not I'm not gonna say easier, even though it is easier, but it's facilitated business to start up a business, alone running a business. So those are all kind of things you have to be attuned to see like what the fallout is, or what the possible like legal or different, for accountants like tax or income fallout is from that. So yeah, always keep my eye out and always be ready for the next wave that's going to come out there.
Yeah, it's thinking about that, like there's all these tools, right? You just mentioned all the stuff you have access to. Here's the struggle. First, you got to know you need it.
Yeah,
Okay. And then you're like, okay, yeah, there's a lot out there, but how do you qualify someone?
yeah,
That's a thing. And that's the difference. And again, I use virtual assistants. I love all that stuff. Fractional CFOs I
yeah,
get from my clients, and they do phenomenal work for them. And it is a leg up.
no,
Before, you have to be a 10, 15, $20 million a year revenue company to have a CFO.
hmm,
Now you can have a fractional CFO if you're doing 5 million and 6 million and
yeah,
7 million, and and bring them on for short periods of time, and they can put plans in place. It's all great. Okay.
mhm,
But the problem is the beauty of the relation of a human being that who can do things for you. You actually know the person, right? There's
hmm,
quality, there's reputation. Now you get some of that online and everything else, but it's online.
hmm,
So when you start to have to go choose, when you already didn't even know you needed it, and now you have to have it, okay, you're kind of behind the eight ball on this stuff. So now you're trying to, well, who's good?
yeah,
I mean, that's not some brand new challenge. It's always been that way in different
hmm,
aspects. But you know, I think like kind of what you're doing, and when you're proactive in, again, what's coming down the pike, what can be affecting business, when you're able to bring those up before it's a pressing problem with a company, that's a trust builder, right? You
hmm,
care, you're bringing this stuff to them, you're offering a service for them, or you're preparing them to engage on that. I think is really good. When you're going down line looking for this stuff, it's a little bit of still kind of the Wild West.
yeah,
It's and so I mean, if you can speak to that a little bit, if you've had experience in that kind of stuff, um, what I would do. So I was a water feature builder, right? So I built ponds and waterfalls, all this
mhm,
stuff, sculptures and everything. So people would call me because they had a pond built, not by me, and it was a disaster.
yeah,
Okay, so I would come in like, well, they said they could build them. I go, okay, but they couldn't. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, well, what do we have to do? I go, well, tear it all out and start over.
yeah,
You can't fix. No, I can't fix their problems.
yeah,
Okay, because I'll never be done. Okay,
yeah,
there's so many. So and here's how much people love what the whole thing. They pay for it twice to get it right. But
yeah,
the problem was, I'm like, how do I keep people from spending $10,000 or $15,000 that literally gets flushed? 3 months after after they pay for it. So similar thing, right? Like, how are you navigating this online world, the in-person world, that kind of thing from your point of view?
Well, I could tell you from my business point of view of running my own business, integrating a ton of technology, particularly AI, into my business. There's just such a flood of stuff out there that it's impossible to even sift through to even figure out what the hell's going on or what it is you want or whatever. So, I mean, the right answer is out there. You just got to figure out what it is. And, the easiest way to do that is you need to identify like what your issue is or what you need help with, and then figure out the solution and then go, find out what the best rated solution is, by whatever rating methodology, whatever, and then implement the solution. You can't just go online and be like, oh, that looks good to me, I'll sign up for it. Or, like, because you're going to wind up with a lot of subscriptions to a lot of crap. And
Yep.
some of it may work, but some of it may not work. So I think, particularly with a lot of the stuff, like I'm way into like AI in my actual legal practice, except like I'm like ethically using it and making sure that I'm in charge of it and I review everything that goes out and I just don't blindly turn in crap or whatever because ultimately I'm responsible for it. So a lot of people just don't do that and they just hit print and they're like, here you go.
Right.
And they get in a lot of trouble. And then in the business stuff, the AI has just made things so much easier to do, social media, SEO optimization, you know, um, podcasting, like just everything is so automated now, whatever, that it's so much easier to do now. And there's so much more accessibility and stuff. But at the same time, you know, what's right and what's wrong. So that's why you have to identify what your issue is or what your problem is, and then go look for the best solution for it. You can't just go with like, like my LinkedIn feed or my Facebook feed. I just get stuff all day long for attorney AI, like, SEO AI, like, social media management AI. And it's just massive amounts of information that you can't process. So you have to figure out what the issue is and then go find the answer. You can't just get what's fed to you and then pick one and do it, because it may work out or it may not work out. And just like you said, rebuilding the fountain, you're going to be rebuilding the AI fountain like 15 times
Yep.
over, because you're going to be keep using crap, and then there's actually something that's really good that works, but you just haven't figured it out yet because you just kind of took what was fed to you and ran with it, as opposed to going to identify the issue and then identify the solution, identify the best solution and go with it.
Yeah, the channel, like you're saying, like with AI, and I've been in it a lot, um, there's not real context. Like for someone to really communicate the entire context of an issue where it can actually break things down is a lot more than people are interested in giving.
Yeah,
Like they want to give it like one sentence and they expect magic to happen, right?
yeah,
And that's when they get really off the rails.
yeah.
Because I always tell people, Matthew, I learned this from a big AI guy, right? Like he develops this stuff and everything else. He goes, well, think about your business. What if you didn't serve your customers well? What if you didn't give them what they want? How long would they be customers? And I go, well, they wouldn't. He goes, exactly. AI just wants to make you happy. That's
Hmm.
what it wants to do, which means it'll tell you whatever you want to hear. Whatever it
Yeah.
thinks you want to hear, it's going to tell you this stuff. And that was like a little light bulb moment for me. I started looking at all the work I'm doing in AI completely different,
Hmm.
and yeah, I have some legit conversations with AI. I call them out on their lies and things like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny just for entertainment purposes, but they're going to give you the easiest solutions because I always tell people AI is built by humans. So there's two things you can be assured of: it lies and it's lazy.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm telling you, you get the wrong stuff, you get the easiest answers. And it's like they seem good to you because you don't know any different.
Hmm.
But if you don't know how to go deeper, because the real answers are there, but you got to know how to access them.
Hmm.
Right. But again, this it actually revolves work and being awake.
Hmm.
Okay. Like you're saying, and it says right on the bottom, this can be wrong. Check your work.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm gonna I don't I'm not trying to be negative, but most people are lazy.
Yeah.
And this kind of stuff, they just figure it knows, it's
Hmm.
smarter than me. And I took the opposite position. No, I run the show here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm catching it going in circles as I'm
Yeah.
developing something. Like you're a dog chasing its tail. Knock it
Yeah.
off. And it
Hmm.
corrects and gets going. So, like, that's just kind of fun. But if you don't know, you're burning up more time than if you literally paid someone. I mean, what's your time worth? And you're trying to take
Yeah.
the easy way out and find this and think it's going to be as good. And this isn't, I'm not anti AI by any stretch. But I'm just saying, like, I think people need to, if they can use it to narrow down their issue, and then they go to a pro like you, and they
Hmm.
give you a little more, so you're not the one, swatting
Yeah.
flies, trying to figure it out, then everybody wins,
Yeah.
right? Do you see people doing that at all? Kind of becoming a little more targeted with you with specifically what they want, and you could tell they did some research.
Yeah, but the problem is that their research sometimes sucks, and I
Yeah.
got no other term for it other than it sucks. And it's interesting because, like you you're my client, whatever. I'll listen to whatever you have to say. I'll gladly talk to you about anything. I'll accept
Right.
whatever you want to send me to review. Send it over. I'll look at it. I'm not gonna say it's right. I'll look at whatever you sent me. So, the trend has been recently for like general AI stuff like ChatGPT or, Grok or whatever. I get a lot of clients now who do their own research and send me their thoughts on where their case should be going, like in litigation and what we
Right.
should be doing and whatever. And I'm like, all right, I'll look at all this stuff and I'll let you know what I think. And it's some of it's decent and some of it's terrible. And it's like, I'm the attorney, so, I should be deciding what our strategy is. Obviously, I'll be listening to what you want to do and trying to satisfy your objectives, whatever, but it's increasing where a lot of these clients are just sending you just straight, no, not even reformatted, just, I'm looking at my left screen here. They just hand you something straight off ChatGPT. It's totally still formatted in
Yep.
ChatGPT, and they're like, here you go. And it's wrong. Or sometimes it's right, but a lot of times it's wrong. And I'm like, wow, I didn't think about that. It's like the most obvious issue. And I'm like, we're so far past the stuff that your AI just pulled up that like we're, in the fourth quarter and you're telling me stuff at kickoff. So, like to use a
Right.
metaphor. So it's like, you know, a lot of people are doing that now. And then obviously a lot of people are doing that for themselves without getting an attorney involved, and they're getting in a lot of trouble. And there's also a lot of attorneys doing that who are like, no, this AI is great, whatever, and they don't check it and they don't take ownership of it, and they get in a lot of trouble. And like I said, I'm a big LinkedIn troll. So, I see my LinkedIn feed, I see attorneys get sanctioned across the country every day for
Wow.
just blindly relying on AI in court or blindly relying on AI for contracts without vetting it, proofreading
Yeah.
it, checking it. And it's just
Yeah.
a
It goes back to
disaster.
my point where humans are lazy.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to do it. Let's do it. That's good enough.
No.
No one
But I
checks.
mean, it's great when it's used correctly and it finds the
That's right.
right stuff, but you got to make sure you use it correctly and find the right stuff. If you're just a layperson who's doing like AI research in any field, you don't know what's right or wrong. You just know what it generates. And like you pointed out, the AI wants to make you happy by finding answers that please you. And there's always a bias in the AI, unless you make sure there's no bias, which means you have to do some heavy prompting and make sure you do some stuff, which is how you're supposed to use AI, but a lot of people don't do that. They just want a general answer. They take the general answer and then they go with it and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, it's crazy. What are you doing kind of from a proactive standpoint to avert this whole AI, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever conversation? Like, you want to save your clients, like, don't go to this, not because I think you'll replace me, but like you're going to burn up time because
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go through this and tell you everything is wrong. And depending on how you work, this could be billable hours. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're
No,
wasting time on this. We're not trying to cure cancer here.
mhm.
Okay. These are legal issues that I'm more than
Yeah.
qualified for and been to school and have a business, 11 years working. Like, how are you addressing that from a proactive standpoint?
It's like the same qualifier I gave you. Look, I'm open with you. I'm not hiding anything. I'll be glad to have any conversation you want. I'll look at anything you send me or whatever, but be advised, you know, you're sending me this AI stuff. I'm billing, it's billable work. I'll be billing you for it.
Right.
And, your time and your money may be better spent somewhere else. And, I gladly will take a look at it and I'll factor it in, but it may be wrong. And I try to instill that in them. So when after the first time they send me like an AI disaster and I respond, I'm like I said, the analogy I gave where you're sending me, get ready for kickoff and we're in the fourth quarter of the game. Like, I sent it after I sent a response like that a couple times, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay. And they back off on the trying to tell me what to do with their AI, which, um, they kind of get the hint after a while. Although without getting into specifics or whatever, I had a client who was an attorney, which is having a client who's an attorney as an attorney is a whole
Yeah.
thing in and of itself. But he, and he's like a practicing attorney. Like he's been practicing as long as I have. And he would, um, him and his wife would send me like not just ideas, but like proposed pleadings that they would want me to file. And they're not from Florida. They're not Florida attorneys, and they want me filing this stuff in Florida. And I'm like, the first time I'm like, thanks, this is very interesting. However, here's the problems with what you sent me, like 1 through 10 or whatever, right? And like they're like, oh, okay. And then they would take my response, feed it into Chat
Right.
GPT, and have it regenerate more crap to me. And I'd be like, okay, there's still these now 5 problems with what you just sent me. And then they would keep sending. So then finally, I'm like, look, I'm a big AI proponent. I use AI all over my business and all over the practice of law, but I don't use it the way you're using it. And like, you're just costing yourself time and money because I understand you're trying to help, or maybe, you think you're trying to take control or whatever, but um, you're not helping and you're not doing whatever. Like, let me do my job. I don't make a move without telling you. I don't file anything without sending it to you to review. I don't do anything without checking with you first. So obviously, I'm not some deranged madman who's going to go do a bunch of stuff. You can look at everything I'm going to do and you can vet it and check it, but don't keep sending me stuff unless you want to
Right.
keep paying for it because it's not right. And they kind of they still didn't get the hint, and
Well,
that's another
sometimes
story
I
for
think
another day.
sometimes I think what they're doing is seeing if Chad is right. So they're paying this fee. They don't, and it's not that they're not that intentional, but they're trying to see if like, can this really do it?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And they could even be in their subconscious. So they're
yeah,
kind of playing with that. Like, and if they're attorneys, I'm really confused. Okay.
yeah,
They're doing that, using that. Like, is that what people do to you?
no, no,
You should have just had AI talking back and forth the whole time. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like you send
yeah,
them the formatted AI response,
yeah,
just to play with them. That would have been kind
yeah,
of fun. And all of a sudden they're like, well, wait, oh, he's doing, yeah, I'm doing exactly what you're doing.
yeah,
I guess we'll let
yeah.
AI battle it out and we'll see
No,
who
it's
wins.
definitely that was
Yeah.
definitely an interesting situation
That would have
because
been
I was
interesting.
just like, because the stuff they were telling me was so far in left field from to reality. It was just mind-boggling, and I'm like, I couldn't believe they were sending me this crap. So
Yeah, I've done a lot of work in there, and I will get like, where in the world, what are you? And I'll talk to like a human being, like, what are you doing?
yeah,
Like this has no relevance. And
yeah,
like, and you reset it, and they talk about hallucinations and all their stuff, but there's times when we're really, really deep and then stuff goes off. Like you're just saying you have to pay attention to that stuff. But when you're dealing with an expert, okay, again, if I've hired an attorney, I gotta say today, if I'm getting a formatted AI, document from you, I'm gonna be pissed.
yeah,
Okay, like we're done.
yeah,
Okay, I'm like, okay, you're off the team, buddy.
yeah,
Okay, so and I mean, I know you don't do that, but I'm just saying, like, even this guy, lawyer to lawyer, but lawyer, client, lawyer, whatever, like, and you're doing that. It's like that is, it's what's the word? It's oh, I'm losing the word, but it's kind of, I want to say there's, I don't have the word why, how wrong it is.
yeah,
It's disrespectful.
yeah,
It's super disrespectful coming from someone who wouldn't want to be disrespected like that.
yeah,
It's a weird, that's a really weird situation,
yeah. No, it
you
was a
know.
really weird dynamic.
But
Yeah,
I mean, but now you got a story, so you got
yeah.
that, you know.
I gotta listen.
But
23
but
years.
yeah,
I
it's
got lots of stories. So
yeah, the whole AI thing is, there's a lot to be revealed and seen, and it changes every day and all that good stuff. But I'm, like I said, everything's a tool. How
yeah,
you use it, it's just all
yeah,
about how you apply it and use it. So, but thanks for giving us the insight on that, because I know that's always a thing, and everyone's wondering when AI is going to replace them.
yeah,
I'm like, well, you don't really have the right attitude.
yeah,
You're not understanding what this thing is. And yes, it may eliminate this, but I always tell them it eliminates this so that you, when you used to do that, can do bigger things,
yeah,
because that's the mundane, the everyday, the easily repeatable. That's where we're at right now. So don't be threatened like I do in the company. It's like, no, now you're free to do bigger things.
yeah.
That's going to take more
No,
capacity.
that's like how AI in my practice of law just means instead of me doing one thing for 10 hours, I can do 10 things for 1 hour now.
Right. Right.
So I'm still doing 10 hours worth of work. It's just I'm incredibly more productive now.
Well, I try to remind people, Matthew, I've been around a while, like not before computers completely, but when they had the weird big green screens and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And it's like,
Yeah,
but I go, remember how they're going to be making more efficient and save you all the time? I said, do the analysis. You'll see that you work even more than you did before them.
yeah,
You're just more efficient, so you can do more.
yeah,
So you work more. You don't work less.
yeah,
Okay. You're actually working more. So if you really want to step back for a second and go, what's it really doing? Oh, look, it's enabling me to work more,
yeah,
right? Not less. It's not going
no,
to do that. So yeah, we
no,
always got to keep these things in perspective and look at them from different angles. So very cool. Well, Matthew, great conversation. We kind of hit some cool points in this. I love the niche. I haven't
yeah,
met anyone who like really focuses specifically in this niche, and I think is brilliant. And I'm glad you're
thank
having
you.
great success with it.
No,
And
thank you.
if you're doing it 10, 11 years, you've done well,
Yeah,
because
thank you.
most people are done before year 3 or 5, right?
No.
So that is fantastic. How can people get in contact with you, follow you, that whole thing? You know the drill.
Sure. So the easiest way is just go to my website, finarolegal.com. It's got all my social media, my email, my phone number. It's got tons of blogs, tons of videos, tons of podcasts, tons of white papers. Basically, at this point, there's so much stuff on my website that most of your answers you can just find on my website, particularly
Yeah,
if you're in
yeah.
Florida.
It's the legal library. That's
Yeah.
what it is. That's awesome. No, that's fantastic. And I always, people take advantage of this stuff. I always tell my listeners, anyone who writes a book has enormous amounts of content, everything else. You got to go consume it, and then you got to apply it.
Yeah.
Don't forget the last part. You got to go apply this stuff,
Yeah.
or reach
Exactly.
out to the creator of that content and have them apply it.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, right? So that's awesome. So yeah, really great conversation. I appreciate all the time today. It's been awesome. And for everybody else, we'll see you on the next STS podcast. Thanks for joining me on the Sharpen the Spear podcast. If you're a manufacturing executive and you're serious about unlocking hidden profit, improving frontline leadership, and taking control of your floor, go to grit2lead.com right now. Run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator and discover your biggest opportunities are hiding. Don't leave millions on the table. Sharpen your spear, lead from the front, and win the floor. Until next time, stay sharp.